Hello, this is going to be a tutorial on how to solve a Ruben King Cube. If you don't have a Ruben King Cube and you would like to purchase one, all you need is a regular 3x3, and you got to go to cubesmith.com, go into the sticker section, and purchase the Ruben King stickers. They also have 3x3, 4x4, and 5x5 versions of the Ruben King Cube if you don't want the 3x3 version alone. So anyway, before we get to scrambling it and solving it, I need to talk to you about how I'm going to refer to the pieces so that there's no confusion. Solid pieces are going to basically be stickers like this, where it's one solid piece. Split pieces are going to be pieces like this, where it's cut in half at a diagonal. All of the edges are solid pieces, which means they have two solid squares. The corners, however, are different. The corners are going to be either a single split, like this one, which has only one split, or a triple split piece, like this corner, that has three splits, one on each side. So now that we kind of have a better understanding about how I'm going to be referring to the pieces, let's scramble it and solve it. Okay, so now that the cube is scrambled, let's go ahead and start solving it. Now, how I'm going to start is I'm going to start with a corner first. The problem with the Ruben King Cube is that the centers don't have one orientation. They can actually be oriented in four unique ways, which means that we have to pay attention to the way that the centerpiece is oriented on all of the centers, not just one of them. So the easiest way to do that is to start with a corner, because corners always retain their orientation. So basically what we're going to do is I like to start on the white face on a normal 3x3. So I'm going to start on the white and blue here. I'm going to get the white corner, which is this one, and I'm going to put it in its correct spot. Now this is the correct spot for this particular piece. If I were to put it here, for example, it doesn't work. It has to have like a split in it, just like this one does. So this piece actually is supposed to go here, like so. So now that I have that first piece, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look to the center cap over here. Now this is orange and yellow, and this is orange and yellow, but I need the orange to be on the upper half since that's what this is. So all I'm going to do is move that corner out of the way and align the center. So now you see that it has a nice diagonal split through both the corner and the centerpiece. This one, on the other hand, is red and green, and this one's only red. So that means that I need the green to be pointing away from the red, like so. Whenever you have a solid piece, it always points towards the right angle of the split. So if you look at the split as a triangle, here is the right angle, right here. It always points towards the solid piece. So solid, right angle, the small triangle. That's how you can visualize it. So now that I'm done with these two, I'm going to flip it around, and I'm going to go to these two. But I'm going to need another corner, which in this case will be a blue corner, like so. Now, for whatever reason, if it doesn't work, that's probably because you have the wrong corner. Each corner has a duplicate. So you'll notice this is blue, orange, red, and green. And this one is also blue, orange, red, and green. But they're different. You'll notice that this one, the orange is on this side. And this one, the orange is on this side. So make sure that whichever one you have is the one that's supposed to be on the correct side. So for example, this is obviously the wrong one because the green and red is on the opposite side and the orange is on the opposite side. So we're going to want to use this one, not the duplicate, because the duplicate's not going to do us any good in this particular situation. So now that we have both of our corners, well, we need to finish orienting these two. So all I'm going to do is move the corner out of the way, and I'm going to point the right angle of the triangle at the solid color, just like that. And over here, I'm going to line up the split. All I have to do is move the corner downward and line up the split, just like that. So now all of these centers are oriented, except for the top center, but that comes last, so don't worry about it. So the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to get our cross, just like a normal 3x3. So I'm going to start on this side, for example, and I need a red and white. So I'm going to look for red and white. There's one right here, but that's kind of in a tricky situation, so I'm going to look for a better one because, like I said earlier, every piece has a duplicate. Now there's already one down here, so let's see, which one should I use? I'll just go ahead and use this one. Now that all the centers are oriented correctly, I can go ahead and mess up this corner as long as I don't mess up the center pieces, and everything should work out for the best. So I'm just going to pull this edge out, and what I'm going to do is I need this edge right here, not this one and this one. I need this edge to face upwards. So I'm going to rotate this 180 degrees, and I'm going to match up the red with that edge. So now when I put it back down, it's matched up. But the important thing is that this retained its orientation. What I could have done is I could have done something like this. But then the center wouldn't have been oriented anymore, as you can obviously see. Another thing I could have done is I could have done this. But that's not the correct orientation. It's pointing away, and before it was pointing towards. So obviously, I need to make sure that I retain the orientation of the center, which means you have to be a little bit more careful when you're making a cross than what you normally would. So the next thing I need to do is get a yellow and white. So let's look for a yellow and white. Here's one. And the yellow is already facing up, so all I need to do is make sure that this side of the yellow, not this side, matches up and put it back down. And it retains its orientation, as you can see. If you want to check and make sure the orientation has not messed up in any way, just put that corner back and make sure everything matches up. So the orange is still split and the red still matches with the red. So this part of the cross is good. Let's go to the back. I'm going to need to work on the blue now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a blue and green. This one looks good and this one looks good. So I'm going to have to use one of those. Let's just say I'll use this one. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it around. Now I'm going to be very careful not to mess up the orientation. So make sure that you don't mess up those orientations of the centers. And now that I have the green facing the right way, I'm going to move it out of the way and I'm going to take this bottom green and rotate it and match it up. I got to make sure that I'm using the right side here, so I'm going to check with my centerpiece, or my corner, and I did indeed match it up correctly. As you can see, the center is still oriented. Now I'm going to go to the orange, so I need an orange and blue, which is right here. Well, let's see if I can find in the top layer. Well, there's not one, so I'm just going to use this one. Orange and blue, let's get it out the other way. Okay, so the orange and blue. Okay, so I need to, again, make sure that the bottom part of the orange right here, not the side part. Again, I don't want to do something like this because as you can tell, that doesn't preserve the orientation. That's not correct. You see how that split runs into the solid? I need the right angle of the triangle, which is this corner right here, to be matched up with the solid. That's obviously not the right way. This is the correct way. The 90 degrees matches up with the solid, and this also matches up, just like that. So now I have my cross. The next thing I'm going to do, since I already have the other two corners, now if you messed up your corners, just feel free to put them back in, and we're going to go to the other corners now. But the thing that we're going to make sure is we're going to make sure that we're using the right corner. So this, for example, is a triple split because you have a split coming this way, a split coming this way, and a split coming this way. So we need to make sure we're getting a piece that has a triple split. This piece right here already has a triple split, but it's not the right piece because as you can see, you know, it's flipped backwards. So we're actually looking for the opposite of this. This is the duplicate. This one, however, is not the duplicate. I put it in, it matches up perfectly. So now I'm going to go to the back, the opposite one, and I need to get one with only one split because there's a right angle here and a right angle here pointing towards this. So that means I need two solids and I got one split, so I need a split. This one works nicely. But again, it's the wrong one. We're going to look for the opposite one because that one's not the correct one. That one is. Now over time, just by glancing at the cube, you'll be able to notice which one is the correct piece. Although they look correct, again, they're not always going to work. So make sure that you get the right piece. Don't use its duplicate. Use the piece that you actually need. So now that we're done with that, we should have the entire bottom layer solved. Now, I know I didn't go over any algorithms in that part, but I'm trusting that you can solve the 3x3 well enough to where I can just describe how to do it, not necessarily tell you the algorithms. If you're having problems getting this first layer because you don't know the moves necessary for it, you need to refresh your 3x3 a little bit. And as soon as you're comfortable with your 3x3, this should be a lot easier for you to do. If you're having problems getting the pieces oriented the right way, that's normal. You just have to figure it out a little bit. Again, when you're doing the corners, make sure that it's either a split, a solid, or a triple split, when you're looking at the bottom face anyway. Make sure you're using the right one that matches up with the centers. When you have a center, you need to make sure that the diagonal line matches up with the corner. The corner is the one that always has the right orientation. So if your centers don't match up with your corner, don't look for a different corner thinking that the corner is wrong. Change the centerpieces to make sure they work. All you have to do to change a centerpiece is move the edge out of the way and rotate the centerpiece until it matches up, and then rotate the corner back. And again, you're going to want to do that before you get the edges and the other corners in, just to make sure your centers are correct. A center with a 90-degree angle points towards the solid. Otherwise, it'll align itself with the split that the corner has. But other than that, you should be able to get all the corners. The edges, all you have to do for the edges, to make sure that you don't mess up the orientation, the easiest way is to rotate it to the top, align the piece, and then rotate it back down. So if you have the top layer, if the piece is in the top layer, move it off to the side, rotate 180 degrees, line it up, and then rotate it back down. That's the easiest way to do it, with making sure that you don't mess up the orientation of any of the center pieces or any of the other pieces.